Okay, guys, here we go. Listen, I'm excited about this video for multiple reasons. It's almost as if God reached down from the heavens and said, look at this video from I Never, Papa God. And I said, peace be with you. And he said, also with you. So, listen, it's so funny. My wife, this is about a content creator named Elphaba, which is not from Wicked. Well, it is from Wicked, but I don't think that they're from the show Wicked. It's this person here. And last night, my wife came across something, and she's a bit of a Lolcow on TikTok. And I was like, you know what? I want to see if I can find like somebody doing like a TikTok breakdown on her, and then like do it on stream and make a video about Elphaba. Well, boom! I'm looking stuff up on trying to put things together. All of a sudden, I see that Never's already got it. It's this TikToker is faking Tourette's and autism for clout. Fantastic. Boom. So it satisfies Elphaba. But on top of that, I've been looking to watch an iNaver video for a while because he popped in the stream the other day. He's like, what's up, Papa? I'm like, I haven't watched iNaver in a long time. That checks box number 2. There was a third box, but I forgot what it was. Either way, I'm excited. I'm excited to take a look at this. For my Never, so let's get this party started, dude.
TikTok is an application used by billions. It's a place on a daily basis where people share content. You view that content of people dancing, doing funny challenges, sharing cute little puppy videos, and also doing wonderful things such as faking disorders. Yes, welcome back to another video about TikTok. Now, yes, if you didn't know, recently over the last few years, there's been a trend of people on TikTok faking certain mental health problems and also certain disorders like Tourette's and plenty of other good...
Hey, what's up, Linda? How you doing?
Pleasant and wonderful things out there. And recently, yes, I did discover on his housecape of an application known as TikTok that there is another case of seemingly somebody faking a disorder. Meet TikTok creator Elphaba. At one point of time, they were mainly known...
You know what the thing I know about Elphaba more than anything else? I know this is weird. Is that apparently they don't shower. So that's unfortunate, but hey, that's life. Who wants to shower, am I right?
For their singing videos and just in general live streams where they did, things which would be considered a little bit odd. I'm not really going to go into specifics because there is a main reason for why I'm making this video. Because recently, they were called out after there was leaked DMs where they basically...
Wait, what is it? I need pills to help me stop lying. FFS, somebody, I can't help lying. I didn't mock anything. I lied, yes, but I never mocked anything. People are now sending me death threats and calling me something and telling me that no one would care if I... Oh, interesting.
Recently, they were called out after there was leaked DMs where they basically exposed themselves for...
Can we just talk about one thing? Elphaba. This is a trans woman, by the way. Nothing wrong with that. The only issue I have with trans people is stop picking your own name. Elphaba. If I have a trans kid, I'm renaming you. That's just how the universe works. Elphaba. Oh my God. You're asking to be bullied at this point. Mocking is pretending and laughing at the piss out of it. I was scared addressing things, but never. Okay.
Lying about Tourette's, and also Elphaba admitted in multiple live streams to lying about certain disorders. Okay. And yes, as I said, this isn't the first case of...
Yeah, hey, listen. To be honest with you, whatever. Like, it's not good, but at least they're admitting it, I guess. You know what I mean? I wonder if I was a kid growing up, if I would have faked stuff. I have actual tics. I don't know if it's Tourette's or it's part of my OCD or whatever. Because when I was born, my doctor said to my mom, like, your kid probably has Tourette's, and she never got diagnosed. Because I've never had like too much of an issue with it, where it would like super impede my problems, right? But I wonder, like, I don't know. I feel like it's almost like par for the course. Kids playing oppression Olympics, it's bad, but I don't know if I would like hate on somebody for it,
of a TikToker lying about having a certain disorder. In fact, on YouTube, there's actually become a specific genre of people who go through people on TikTok lying, or they criticize people who they think are lying about having certain disorders. And to be honest with you, I can get why this is a genre which has become popular, because it is a very aggravating thing for somebody to lie about having a specific thing, because it can damage communities. It can damage the perception of people that actually do have things such as Tourette's, people who are autistic.
That's true.
People that do actually have ADHD.
That is true. Like, it's actually a really big problem. So we have an issue on social media where we think that it's so hard to communicate. Okay, so there's people on TikTok who will say they have autism, and they'll be super massively like high functioning, is the lack of a better term, like no support needed, to the point where they don't really have any they don't have significant struggles with like their particular issue with when it comes to the way they interact with society, at least not in the same way that other people with autism have, where like people that my wife works with. And what it seems like is nowadays you see somebody on TikTok and it's like, oh, they have autism. And like, it seems like they don't struggle at all. I guess autism's not so bad. And then in our heads, we're like, okay, whatever. But it can be significantly distressing to people, especially people who are like support needed. That happens across the board. And then with people faking it, it also makes people like overly skeptical of other people who might have autism. So it's not a good thing overall. I don't think that these people realize like how bad they are, or how much harm that they are doing. I don't think that they're malicious. I think it's one of those things where people just want to be victims nowadays, which is unfortunate that we got that problem going on there. But yeah.
It can put a very negative light on those people and damage them on the long term. So what I want to do in today's video is inject a little bit of nuance, because that's a word which I think a lot of people on the internet need to discover. Look at this word.
You know what's weird? He said nuance, but like English people are like, oh, nuance. Like, you guys have to get your language together, okay?
Now, nuance. It's something which a lot of people don't like to have, and it's something that we will be having today, where I ask the question of why does this keep happening? Seriously, why do people keep faking having Tourette's, ADHD, being autistic? Why?
I mean, it's a victim complex. People want to be oppressed, and how can you prove someone doesn't have autism or ADHD or OCD or this? You know what I mean? It's like unprovable. It's almost, that's the problem. You could usually, I mean, not for nothing, you could generally tell, not to be that guy, but you can usually kind of tell. But that's why they do it, because it's hard to prove it. That's what it comes down to,
Why do they do that? And also I need to ask you the question of, is it time we just shut down this app known as TikTok?
Yes.
And that was a trick question, because obviously the answer is, well,
no, probably not.
Obviously you should subscribe to my YouTube channel, because yes, I am asking you very politely, and I would very much appreciate it.
I thought you said you should start on a TikTok.
Because today we are speaking about something which required a lot of research, and, I just appreciate it. There's nothing I can really offer you other than my little pretty face, so if you could do so, please subscribe.
Oh, I'm not subscribed on this channel.
What? And it would mean,
oopsie.
Well, it would mean a little bit to me. It wouldn't mean well, I can't lie to you, but joke at it, please. But yes, let's actually get into the main topic of today, which of course is Elphaba. Now, the reason I'm speaking about Elphaba is because the topic did actually pique my interest. I saw it, and I thought this is something that I could speak about and actually lead into a broader, wider conversation. And it's kind of weird, because whilst I do think what Elphaba has done is disgusting, I also I feel a little bit of empathy. It's quite. There's some things I need to lay out in this video to not make people get mad at me, for one, but also just to explain my thoughts and why I think this whole issue is far more complicated than we actually realize.
Yeah, no, I would feel bad for them too. I've seen them. They get constantly bullied. I mean, like, listen, they don't shower or anything, but it's another Lolcow that probably has something going on. Like, they're struggling with something, you know what I mean? And it's wrong what they're doing. But I feel like we should have more proportionate criticisms to people. You know what I mean? It's like, let's take a deep breath and have a little more proportionate criticism. Be like, hey, you shouldn't be faking things, but you're not like a demon. You know what I mean?
But also, I need Elphaba to understand what she is doing on her TikTok platform is dangerous and can severely affect the people who actually do have these disorders. But yeah, let's finally actually get into it, of the clip of where Elphaba seemingly admits to faking Tourette syndrome.
It was wrong of me to say I had Tourette's. That was wrong. I'm very sorry for that.
I hope he shows the video my wife showed me yesterday, where she's like, I have Tourette's, and then she just starts snapping. I was like, what the fuck is that? I've never seen that before. You know what I mean? Because I have like facial tics. Well, I have different body tics and stuff, but I have mostly like facial tics and stuff. But I'm like, what the fuck is it? I've never seen that before. It was weird,
I tend to say things without thinking, and that is the thing I need to stop. So that's why I've got bullet points in front of me, because this is helping me kind of stay on track. I was never mocking it, though. I would never mock that. I know how hard it is.
You don't know how hard it is, though, because the only people that know how hard it is to have Tourette's, to truly know how difficult it is to have Tourette's, is, shockingly enough, the people that actually do have Tourette's.
Yeah, and their support structure. Like, I just want to be, like, it's hard for, like, parents of people with Tourette's, too. It could be very difficult for them, because they have to deal with them. I know it sounds silly, but it's a real thing. It can be very distressing having a child with like any type of issue like that. So I just wanted to bring it up there, show a little appreciation to the parents,
And also the term "I was never mocking it" is also a complete and utter joke. Simply pretending to have something is a mockery in itself. You are mocking something because you are pretending to be that specific thing.
I disagree. I think what we're looking for is disrespectful, right? It was disrespectful of her to do it. But so mocking is making fun of somebody. I doubt that this Elphaba was making fun of the person or making fun of like Tourette's actively. It was more of anything else about her getting the social media attention for something, probably. It's not right either way. But to me, when we say the word mocking, it's assigning an intentionality to this person that I don't think is a fair assignment. And I think part of being proportionate in criticism is just to make sure that we don't we try to maintain that like proportionality of criticism or the intention. You know what I mean? Like people need to maintain positive intention or the proper, what I would consider more proper attention or intention. Like prescribe the correct one. She just seems like somebody who's looking for some kind of social media attention. You know? So yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the actual Google definition of mocking. Yeah, you can see it literally here. Mockery, an absurd misrepresentation or imitation of something. That's literally what
I guess that's one of the definitions. The one I had just saw was just like, making fun of it. But okay, whatever.
Doing. And honestly, I think it is very absurd to pretend to have Tourette's, and you are definitely imitating it. So you are definitely mocking it. But I guess the definition of actually mocking something is a little bit different for Elphaba. I think by what they mean in terms of mocking is that they weren't making it look silly or stupid by faking tics, because people have actually come out and accused Elphaba.
I think it's that she just wasn't trying to be disrespectful to people. So
of fake.
She was appropriating what was it, Tourette's, but she wasn't mocking it. That's how I was it.
Tics. As you can see in this video here, it definitely does seem that she is faking some form of mannerism which could be associated with Tourette syndrome. But despite that video, and despite the video of her, clearly admitting to faking having Tourette's, she actually went on the offensive and denied faking tics.
I can see why you think this, but I'm about to show some more proof in a minute that this is not me doing Tourette's So this is a video that has been taken out of context. So if anyone remembers my live streams where I used to do like acting and skits and stuff, this was a thing. And here's Mama Kaz doing this.
We'll give each other nothing. All of a sudden she went like this, and I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "That's my Tourette's."
This video has been taken out of context.
Okay, so you've gotten the context there, because apparently the clip was
Oh, that specific clip looks like she's talking about a story with her friend with Tourette's or something. I don't know.
Out of context, and that's all good. That's all well and good, but there's a little bit of a problem. Me did a little bit of research, didn't I? And I found a clip where Elphaba seemingly is having tics.
Tourette's. Oh, Tourette's. I've actually been referred to TalkWorks or something like that. You know, when I had my doctor's appointment for my back, I got referred them. Because I started ticking in the doctor's office, which was not fun.
Okay.
Accidentally. Shit. Oh, sorry.
Bro, faking tics is just wild to me, bro. It's just wild to me. I don't know. This is fucking crazy. Oh my god. Stop, dude. Oh my god.
I can't. I want to pause the live.
No, you can't do that. It's not good.
That definitely didn't seem like a skit. That didn't seem like a little funsy. That seemed like somebody seemingly having a tic. It was literally referred to by the other person in the live stream. And honestly, it seems that the comments are very clear to point this out. And you see, we're coming into a bit of a problem here, a bit of a contradictory timeline, pretty much. Because what we've got here is somebody who was at one point admitted to lying about these things. The next, we have DMs about how she speaks about bad she is at lying, and we will actually get into those DMs later in this video. But also, we now have her seemingly actually admitting that she may possibly have Tourette's.
I can show you my referral if you want to see.
I don't need to see referrals, the same as I wouldn't want anyone to ask for our referrals, but I do think that you really do need to reconsider the things that you share and the things that you say, because you are actually hurting a whole community of people in various ways. And
yeah, I mean, not for nothing, but she wouldn't be nodding like in attention if she had actually Tourette's. She'd be like, "Shut the fuck up, I have Tourette's." So this doesn't really make any sense for her to like interact this way. It just doesn't make sense. If she actually had it, she'd be like, "No, shut up, you're an idiot. I have it." That's what I would say. I say, "Hey, shut your mouth." I actually have Tourette's. So.
And time again, you're apologising for stuff, and you're not meaning what you're saying. Now, I've seen you on and off my For You page for quite some time, and I steer clear of all the drama, but now you've directly impacted my child who suffers with this disability.
Shit.
It's not a fashion statement, Elphaba. It's not.
Autism mom
I'm
strikes
really
again.
And if you've genuinely got tics, then fine. I am the first person who will be there to support somebody, ask anybody. But I'm telling you now, if you're lying about it and you're faking it, that is absolutely disgusting.
No, I'm not lying about it. I can show you proof, I promise.
My brother said,
well, you, not for nothing, I just don't, like, if you actually had it, I would imagine you'd have a very different, like, interaction there with that person. You wouldn't be like, no, I'm so sorry. I'd be like, bro, I have it too. Like, shut up. Like, you're being annoying. That's what I would say. So it kind of feels a little fakey poo there.
This isn't this. I am honestly just a little bit confused right now, a little bit dumbfounded about what I'm actually watching. And I think the person that they were live streaming with clearly was also a little bit confused when they called them out on this. But the response to getting called out was, well, I haven't faked having Tourette's since the last time. And honestly, that's a insane thing to say.
Well, it seemed like they were saying there that they actually had Tourette's. They were lying about it. I didn't hear them say that they were sorry. They haven't faked it in a while. Maybe I just misheard it.
Also, surely that in itself is an admittance.
I don't need your proof and I don't need your promises because they don't mean anything to me. But you just need to understand the bigger picture of what you're saying. I've watched your last video about how you were saying you were going to take some time out, but you're back again within 5 minutes. And the first thing I see is everyone going on about how you're faking Tourette's.
Oh, I haven't done anything since.
Oh, there
I
we
haven't
go.
done anything like that since. I've just been singing on live stream and performing and doing makeup. That's what I've been doing.
And by that, she means...
Okay, well, you know what? There you go. That's what he meant. Okay, he was referring to the next clip.
faking Tourette's. So she says,
Jesus.
I haven't faked Tourette's since then, but she also says that she's had a referral, and it's all a bit confusing.
It doesn't make any
these
sense.
DMs here as well. There are videos of her seemingly having tics, and you could say, are those fake? And it's just very confusing. What is actually going on here? And honestly, I feel like this is a case study in reasoning that we kind of need to submit to the US government of how and why we should delete this application, because everything that's been going on throughout...
Not for that. I think that we need to have a case study about like the profoundly negative impacts of like social media on people. Because you want to know what? I feel like this is going to be... They need to study this almost like it's a mental issue. Just the way that people will fake mental issues on TikTok, which would satisfy people's desperation to have a diagnosable victim complex. And help us study this, because holy fuck. And like, what it's crazy because like, why aren't the parents doing something more? And I think it's because like we have to teach parents to teach their kids how to be people. Like, you know, like we learned how to be parents from our parents, but we're growing up so fast. There's so much social media technology and there's so much new interactions with different medias and whatnot that I feel like it's impossible for a parent that's a little older, it's like, know what the fuck is going on. We're moving so quickly. We have like massive amounts of technology. You know, like how many people, you know, listen, how many people can sit here and tell me like, yeah, you know, when I was younger, I used to go on Omegle and show my fucking tits off to like older men, right? Like how many guys are sitting there like, I don't know, whatever fucking weird kids do, cut holes in pillows and try to fuck them. I don't know. But listen, my wife tells me that. She's like, yeah, we know a lot of girls do that. And it's like, how the fuck, like, we got to stop that. But like parents don't know what Omegle is, you know, and now it's not Omegle anymore. It's TikTok and it's this and it's that. And it's like, we have all these fucking problems that we have to deal with, you know? We have all these issues that we have to figure out because you can't be letting fucking kids do this insane shit, you know? Or, you know, what's more comparable for guys? Being racist on Call of Duty. I'm not even kidding. You know, like fucking young boys will go on to video games and start saying every slur under the sun to each other. It's like they're in an English class learning new slurs. And then like young girls are going on to fucking just creepy websites and like interacting with creepy men. And they're like, haha, this is silly. Like, it's weird. Okay. We need to teach parents to be parents. We need to have like an Omegle education class. We need to have like a fucking video game education class. We need to figure out things to make sure our kids don't go batshit crazy. It's fucking nuts. So
this entire video, we're only like halfway or quarter way through, but is this not a real reasoning and understanding to why TikTok just kind of needs to go? I know like they had a whole debacle in America about deleting the app or banning the app. Maybe it's the one thing that we should actually, you know, let the government do.
Yeah,
but with all of these contradictory statements, it's very clear that the person they were streaming with was pretty much picking up on these lies and just messes of statements. And they called this out once again, and it resulted in this.
But do you realize what?
Honestly, like one of the big issues with TikTok getting banned, I know this sounds silly, is that TikTok, as shitty as a platform it is, and I truly mean that because they are so bad to their creators, I think, is like banning TikTok is a really big win for other social media companies. And that's like when it comes to reducing competition. You know, YouTube's a really great platform. They pay, I think, 2 or 3 times more per view on YouTube for shorts. They care more about their creator. They listen more, but there are still problems where they don't listen and they like, you know, they'll do crazy shit. Imagine like TikTok was gone. You know, like that's a huge competitor. You know, we got to be careful of monopolies. You know, we really do have to be careful of monopolies. It's a potentially like huge problem. So
What you're doing to different communities of people, or are you just so self-absorbed you don't see it?
No, I realise. I'm sorry.
No, but I don't think you do. And sitting there putting your head down and saying you're sorry, I genuinely don't feel like you are. I feel like, yet again, you've been caught out at something and you're just trying to make peace and trying to make everyone feel sorry for you and be a victim. But trust me, I've got a 16-year-old next door who is far less a victim than anybody else on this planet, especially you.
No, of course, and you deserve to be heard. That's why I kept you valid, of course, 1,000,000%. And I'm truly sorry.
You deserve to be heard. Oh, bro, sis, sorry. I just hate that language. You deserve to be heard. You deserve to be Amber Heard.
Like, you mean that with all my respect, because that's amazing.
So if you're saying, I don't understand. Okay, so hang on. Why are you apologising? If you're not faking it, then why would you apologise to me?
True.
Oh no, I'm apologising because I'm apologising for all the hate I've gotten and stuff like that. That's why, and I'm sorry that you thought I thought you were against me. That's all. I thought you were against me. That's all.
I'm apologizing for all the hate. I'm flabbergasted. They're quick. This person is quick. You got to give them that. They're quick on those lies. But oh my god.
Gentlemen, I think what we have here is somebody that's just been absolutely caught for all of their lies in one moment. I mean, it's truly one of the worst excuses I've ever heard. She's saying sorry because of the stuff. What is she even saying here? Now, my friends, I completely understand why a lot of people want me to go absolutely ballistic and mental and get the pitchforks out and just start screaming and going mental. I actually get that, because what she is doing here is an extremely damaging thing for a multitude of reasons, which I will explain later in this video. But I'm not going to go crazy. I'm actually going to have some nuance, because
I actually appreciate that, because I feel like we have people are just so terminally online. I think it's a huge problem of content creators who will they'll take a situation that's clearly wrong, and they'll try to use this energy that makes it as like insane as possible. And so I like the right conversation about it, because this is something that a lot of people are doing and they really shouldn't be doing. You know, and people don't need to be like destroyed for it. They need to be educated on it. But I mean, this is to an extent the same thing as wanksters. We used to call white people who thought they were black. You know, you just gotta you imagine canceling someone for that. You know, black people used to think it was funny too when white people acted black. They were like, "Wow, this guy's an idiot." Remember, like Malibu's Most Wanted, Jamie Kennedy. And it's like the intentionality isn't negative. They just want to they want to be cool. You know, because that's part of it. White people think black people are so cool, but that's what it is. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. And so it's kind of the same thing here. People think it's cool to have like Tourette's nowadays. So, you know, we just got to do the right education about it.
Elphaba, to me, after some observation and research, is clearly somebody who gets a lot of shit and clearly has a lot of issues and problems. And it seems that Elphaba, on a week-to-week basis, apologizes for something. And I'm just going to try and be fair here and not like witch hunt this person. So let's talk about the tics that she was.
Well, they did name themselves Elphaba, like from the show Wicked, so I guess it is kind of a witch hunt. Sorry, I'm just trying to play my game.
Having here the anxiety-induced tics.
Like when I'm really stressed, I squeak and jitter, and I can't.
You have functional tics. You think you have functional tics?
So what I'm going to do is come at this from
yeah, like for my tics, like when I'm stressed, they come out more. It's a little bizarre. Sometimes they're like really bad too. Like sometimes like the fucking most insane tics. I don't know. Sometimes they're like fucking crazy. Like, I'll whip my head back and forth. I haven't had that one in a while. You know, mostly like a blinking tick is pretty consistent. But
place of actually believing that those tics that she was having in the video that I showed you previously were actually her having very legitimate tics. And I know a lot of people will say it was attention seeking, it was fake, it wasn't real. Don't worry, I'll get into all of that as well. But I'm going to come at this from a place of actual goodwill, even if this person you may think doesn't deserve it. But pretty much, having an anxiety-induced tic doesn't necessarily mean that you have Tourette's.
True.
As you can see on the CDC websites and other health websites out there, and I do have to say I am not a health professional whatsoever. I'm just doing my research into these specific topics. Probably more research than Elphaba has done in her entire life, but either way, this is not my words. This is just from these health websites seemingly led by professionals. On these websites, you can see that having a tic does not necessarily mean that you have Tourette's.
Yeah, it could also mean that you have OCD. My understanding, at least. You know, I guess that's why you need to get a diagnosis, guys. Don't self-diagnose.
And also, there are multiple forms of different disorders out there that Elphaba may possibly come under. But this leads us into the TikTok conundrum and
TikTok. I just feel like they're faking their tics in general, though. Like, isn't that's my consensus at least? But I could be wrong, I suppose.
Reason number 7,224 of why we need to delete this godforsaken application. TikTok is dominated by impressionable young people. People who aren't exactly the smartest of cherries on top of the cake. Because I don't know if you guys have realized, but over the last few years, people have seemingly been trying to diagnose themselves with a lot of different things. In particular, the big old buzzword is ADHD. A lot of people on TikTok like to say that they definitely have ADHD.
It's not just their fault, though, because you have fucking self-diagnosing advertisement or diagnosing advertisements that's like, do you have these problems that anybody can identify with? Maybe you have this problem. You should get it checked out. Blah blah blah. It's a huge issue. This is the problem: is that you have people who are you have like a lot of young kids that are on TikTok and they're getting these targeted advertisements saying that they have ADHD, and they think that because they think that it's targeted towards people with ADHD, it's targeted towards as many people as possible. It's a fucked up part of the United States where people advertise medications on television and on TikTok and this and that. It's a fucking bizarre mental health thing. But if you look up anything, they're getting like gaslit into thinking they have it. Like, look at this. I looked up ADHD symptoms. I have diagnosed ADHD. Okay, it was to a point where like it was difficult for me when I was growing up. Right, being unable to sit still, especially in a calm or quiet surroundings. We live in a social media generation, or a generation of social media, where people are constantly needing stimulation. Can't sit still. Everybody's always looking at their phone every 2 seconds. Constantly fidgeting. Being unable to concentrate on tasks. Whoa. Okay. Excessive physical movement. Excessive talking. Being unable to wait their turn. Acting without thinking. Interrupting conversations. Everybody can identify with these in some capacity. Everybody can identify with these in some capacity. And nowadays, people are like, oh, you might have ADHD, and you just look up the symptoms. Oh my God, I have all these. Yeah, of course. But half of this is just because you don't know how to fucking act like a person, because you're in this social media age where you just constantly need stimulation. Right? It's a totally different fucking thing. And this is one of the big problems. Is I never in the chat, I don't see him. What the fuck? How come I don't see him? Did he show up before? But it's much more serious than that. That's why you need a mental health professional, because a lot of these issues that we have, like, everybody can identify with it in some capacity. Act like a, and so that's one of the biggest problems, bro. Where the fuck? I don't see. Oh, there we go. Now it showed up. What's up, Pineapper?
This is coming from somebody that actually does have a diagnosis. And the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of these people actually don't. So my friends, it may shock you to hear, but I actually don't think this comes from a place of malice. So I don't think these people are faking ADHD for the most part for attention or anything. I actually think a lot of these people genuinely do believe that they have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I said, like, yeah, like I was saying before, people get like fucking convinced they have these issues by all these really targeted fucking, I would argue, predatory advertisements to try to make as much money as possible. But then there are some people who want to be a victim. It's like a huge fucking social media problem.
I think that's what it's called anyway. I should know.
I said swear words, so it got censored.
I'm not doing a good job of convincing you all about my brothers, sisters, and sisters. The reason I believe...
Yeah, I have like an automatic bot, sorry.
These people aren't malicious when they're incorrectly diagnosing themselves with certain disorders in these TikTok situations. Some are correct, but in some situations they're not. The reason I don't think it's malice is because of society. Over the course of time, people have demonized people with having disorders such as autism, ADHD, Tourette's, even mental health issues such as depression. People used to say, oh, it's all in your head. If you had ADHD, it was just...
I mean, technically, that is true, but it's all in your head. But they mean it in a way where it's like, oh, fuck yourself, like nobody cares about your shit, rather than like, oh, you need to get help with that.
A buzzword for, oh, you're a hyperactive kid that's been given a label to make people put you in a certain box. When I grew up as a kid, I used to not take ADHD seriously, and I blimmin' had it. And that's because when you were younger, or back before, I guess there was less research and information into these certain fields and topics, or less normalization, we looked down on these things even if we didn't realize it.
I wonder, it's so weird, because in America, because you live in like some other shit country, right? I'm just kidding. In America, because I'm older than you, and they took my ADHD seriously, and I wonder if that's because America cares more, or if it's because we monetize pills better. We siphon money out of people better from healthcare perspective. So, because I can imagine that my doctor was like, ADHD, and then they start counting those bills, baby, boom, 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 you know. Because they'll get kickbacks if they prescribe certain medications. I've been in scenarios where, like, because I'm insulin dependent now because of my diabetes, which I'm working on. And I went to a doctor and they prescribed me a specific. They prescribed me an insulin that wasn't covered by my insurance at first, and it's like, why? And then I was like, hey, my insurance doesn't cover this. Oh, okay, and they switched over. It's because this motherfucker gets more kickbacks. You know what I mean? It's like, holy fuck. It's crazy. Our system is fucked.
I don't want to sound like a big old woke warrior right now, even though I definitely am, but pretty much woke society warrior. Nowadays is becoming a bit more progressive, you know? We're becoming a bit more understanding. We like these things. We like to talk. Well, we don't like having depression. Nobody likes to have depression.
Well, some people pretend to like that with depression because they're not really depressed, but absolutely.
We like to accept and talk and discuss the possibility of you, I pointed at myself, that you or me having some form of disorder or mental health issue. It's because of this that people nowadays are becoming less normalized when it comes to these disorders, and that's definitely is a good thing. And with that, you are probably now noticing more nowadays, as I mentioned just now, that a lot more people are claiming to have ADHD, to be maybe autistic, to have Tourette's. And that doesn't necessarily mean because they're faking. Now, I know I said that a lot of—
No, but they definitely need to get your shit checked out. Like, you have to stop self-diagnosing, because it's easy, again, to identify with a lot of these particular symptoms, so...
People are faking having these things, but I also think a lot of people do have these things. And the reason that they're just appearing out of nowhere isn't like they were just found or snapped into existence. No. These people always existed, but it was just back 20, 40 years ago, these things had no research, not really many labels on, no introduction to a lot of people's lives. People could have gone their entire life with having ADHD without even possibly realizing it, because how society demonized it. And if they did realize it—
You want to give me a kiss or not? Do you want to smooch me on the lips, Beb? Beb, I love you. Bye. I love you. You smell my fart? I farted like 5 minutes ago. I still smell it. You heard it? Yeah. Fuck. That means that everybody on stream heard it. I love you. Papa, would you try to get those kickbacks if you're a doctor? No, of course not. I would like to think I wouldn't want to. But that's the problem, is there's a human condition to be as greedy as possible. And like, that's why we need to make laws that regulate this kind of stuff. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's why people engage in like corruption and shit.
They may not have spoken about it because of how society used to look down on these things. But now the taboo is being removed from society, we're becoming more understanding and accepting. More people are going to speak out about who they are, what they have, and what they just do in their lives. It's something great. It's something normal, and it helps us understand these issues even more. And okay, I know it might sound like like a weird comparison, but have you ever heard people nowadays being like, "Oh, everyone's bleeding gay these days. What's with all those LGBTQ play AB?"
What are you saying?
Harrison, but have you ever heard people nowadays being like, "Oh, everyone's bleeding gay these days. What's with all those LGBTQ play A, B, C, D, E, F, G?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. That happens a lot too. Like, there's part of it's like a social phenomenon where some people are identifying as LGBTQ, like, not genuinely. But I think it's like complicated. One, people are feeling more like accepted now, so they feel like they can come out more. There's people who are exploring their gender identity or the sexuality or whatever they're doing, and there's like people who are basically transgendering. You know, it's hard to distinguish each one of them. I think that the transgendering is an issue, but the reason that you're hearing about this so much more than anything else is because conservatives won't shut the fuck up about it, because it's the only thing that they have to platform on now, or Republicans rather, specifically like mainstream Republicans. They have no other platform except for, oh my god, LOL, look at the gays. But they're not dealing with child poverty, regular poverty, housing, healthcare, anything. They're not doing anything. They're just saying no to everything. That's why it seems like it's such a huge issue, because it's all fucking conservative, or that's all the Republican Party is talking about. So, yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are like, well, these gays people have just come out of nowhere. You know, these people, they're everywhere. Not the gays. The people that say that are everywhere. And the question is that because gay people are taking over? Is this some form of gay invasion? Or even, are all the gay people in the world fake?
A gay invasion?
Gay? No, it's obviously not that. I hope. I think more people appearing to be gay nowadays is mainly down to the fact that throughout history and mankind, we've demonized and ostracized people for simply being who they are as human beings. In the 1980s, if you identified as being gay, you would face a large amount of social persecution. That is putting that lightly. But nowadays in 2023, I think it's at least a little bit better. You can come out now as gay and as just LGBTQ+, and you will, not by everybody, of course, we've got a long way to go, but it's a lot better than it was in the 1980s. And of course, that's led to a lot of people being more comfortable with who they are. It's allowed them to accept them for themselves, and that's why you see a lot more gay people nowadays. It's not like they just appeared out of nowhere. It's because they were always there, but a lot of people just outright denied it throughout their entire lives, or even they just hid it from society because of the persecution that they would face if they actually came out as gay.
Scary.
And the thing is there are plenty of stories throughout history of people being gay, but they only came out about it when they were like 80 years old because they were scared their whole life of social persecution.
For sure.
This isn't a thing of gay people turning up out of nowhere. They always existed. And ladies and gentlemen, I completely understand it is a little bit weird to compare Tourette syndrome and being gay as the same thing, but the point I'm trying to make here is with everything, things that get demonized throughout society, when those things are no longer demonized to a certain extent, when they're becoming less taboo, you will notice that more people become those things. For example, as I mentioned, with depression, it used to be considered being lazy to be depressed or something like that, or not even real, just in your head. And
fellas, is it gay to be depressed? Is mental health gay? I think so. Look at these gay balloons in the game.
But nowadays there are more depressed people, not because everybody's randomly getting depressed, but it's because people now have more understanding of what this thing is.
Maybe. I think that like there's definitely more people feel comfortable to identify or to like identify as being depressed. Well, you know what I mean. To acknowledge their depression. Then there's some people who are faking it for attention. But then there's also an issue of our society. Like we have a very depressed society because of the way that we interact with society. Really horrible diets and not a lot of exercise is absolutely a cause of depression. You have issues with social media constantly showing the best of one person's entire life, and everybody else looks at that, and by comparison they think that they're failing. I guarantee you that somebody that was doing comparatively as well as, let's say, me 50 years ago would be much happier with their success than I am now, because you're constantly seeing other people. I'm not gonna lie to you, but like because I talk about how like I was big on TikTok, right? And I blew up around the time that like Bella Poarch blew up. And I'm not happy to admit this, but like sometimes I'll go into like a store and I'll see a Bella Poarch Funko. I'm like, damn, like what did I do? Like where did I fail? Like why am I not doing well enough? And I'll beat the shit out of myself for it. We have an issue with comparison, but if you retract, and like, I love my wife, she helps me keep in perspective. Like I am doing well, and that's like a huge problem. Is constant comparison to other people, you know, and it's hard not to do it because sometimes you'll see people with billionaires. And it's like, how do you not, like, you know, especially if you're somebody in poverty, how do you not compare yourself to this person with billions of dollars that has absolutely every need met and then some? And like, then you're kind of like, you're sitting here working like 60 hours a week just to put food on the table. You know, it's difficult, but there is a lot of different things when it comes to depression. And I think a lot of it is social media. You didn't make a music video? Yeah, I also got my ass fucking banned. You know what I mean? I wasn't worried about my internet footprint the way I should have, you know? But you understand my point. It's the constant comparison. It doesn't matter whether it's rational or not. It's just the constant comparisons.
For example, who I know personally who definitely have ADHD and depression, but they've never gone to get a diagnosis because during their time of growing up, that wasn't a thing. Well, it was a thing, but it was looked down upon. And because of that, they've bottled these things up. And it's sad and disappointing. But nowadays, it's changing. And that's why there are so many people being expressive with who they are as a human being. When you remove the taboo from any subject or anything in general, you're always going to get people that then are pushed towards that thing that no longer has a taboo because they're not being ostracized for it anymore. And this is why we are getting so many people now claiming what they have and who they are as human beings nowadays. This is the reason, and I hope it wasn't as insane as it possibly may have sounded, and I hope you now don't think I'm an absolute nut job, but I think that was a pretty decent explanation. But you may be thinking, well, how does this correlate to possibly faking a mental disorder? Am I saying people out there fake being gay? No, I'm not saying that.
There are people who do that.
I'm not saying that.
That's what I'm saying.
Being gay.
I'm saying it.
The reason those things
I'm saying it.
each other there is because I think being gay is easier to understand than
being gay is kind of cringe.
Like Tourette syndrome. Tourette syndrome is something that needs a lot of research, and I think a lot of people out there truly do not understand this disorder whatsoever. And I think the main issue of this whole scenario comes down to misinformation. Because as I said, now society is more accepting of things like depression, like anxiety, like autism, like just everything in general. Like we're becoming more progressive, it leads to more dialogue and conversation, and it kind of leads to some problems. Because on TikTok nowadays, you will have somebody sharing their genuine experience with, again, ADHD. The only reason I'm using ADHD here is because I have ADHD, but yeah, people will be airing their thoughts and opinions and how they deal with ADHD on a daily basis, and some little 14-year-old may hear that and think, oh, that kind of relates.
It's so fucking annoying when I hear people talk about it. It just pisses me off. Like, I watched a TikTok of some person that was like, oh my God, part of my ADHD is time blindness, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about like their issues with like time or whatever. And it's just irritating the shit out of me because it's like they're just talking about how they show up to events 15 minutes early. And it's like, shut up. Like, holy fuck. People are just so goddamn annoying, you know? It just pisses me off. Am I going to lose?
It's to me. No, I have ADHD. No.
Okay.
Let's not do that. Let's not do that! We've never had a point of time where so much information
Don't take the piss!
Accessible, but also the information from just other people, other human beings, not companies, but just listening to people's life experiences. We are now hearing someone's experience with autism, someone's experience with Tourette's. These experiences haven't always been publicized to a massive degree, like they are being publicized on TikTok, and this is being exposed to so many people out there. Basically, the problem is, with us being so comfortable, weirdly enough, it's actually caused the issue of, because we have so much dialogue, people now instantly correlate other people's struggles with their own. It's actually a pretty normal human thing to do, to see somebody struggling with somebody, to relate to it and attach yourself to it. I don't actually think a lot of people do this out of malice. I think a lot of people are just looking for possible reasons to why they act in a certain way. And we will get into the topic of self-diagnosis, because I actually have a little controversial opinion about that. But I think because of the thing that I mentioned just now, the taboo of mental health and disorders being removed and people being more comfortable and accepting of these things, and then combining that with TikTok and how these things are being conjoined, and so many people are experiencing this and then thinking that they possibly have this thing because of somebody's slightly correlating experience to their own personal experience, things are just starting to get a little bit messy. Because we look at people like Elphaba, the main subject of today's video, and it's very clear to me that this person probably doesn't exactly understand what Tourette syndrome actually entails, the details of it, and just in general why they may or may not have this disorder.
So I do that. So I basically like...
I doubt that they have the disorder. They might have some mannerisms that could be associated with it, but we need to be careful about like associating too many. Like again, we need to be careful about associating mannerisms to things. You know?
I squeak and I do that, and that's basically what I can't help it because I don't know.
But then it could also move into the other specific angle, because there are two angles here. There are the possible angles of misinformation and people just in general not understanding certain disorders and getting a little bit conflated with them by accident. But then there's also, well, attention seeking, because whether you deny it or not, people do find fascination in this sort of thing, and it's mainly down to the fact that having something different to what most human beings may possibly not have can interest a lot of people, and people can use this to get attention, to get views, to get, I guess, even out of some situations, use it as an excuse to get away with bad behavior. People have done it over the course of TikTok and YouTube, and it's a very embarrassing and horrifying trend, again, for a multitude of reasons, but it does exist. We can't deny that attention seeking people out there do lie about having disorders, which is just absolutely insane to me, because these disorders aren't something to glorify. But sadly, social media's glorification of things like, again, like ADHD has now caused people to think nothing of it when they're going around pretending to have some specific disorder. And it's,
I kind of get it though. I'm gonna be real with you. I remember when I was younger, you know, I don't know if people know this, but I still am. I'm obese. And I remember there was a kid in a wheelchair, and I'm like, wow. And they didn't have to run the mile. Now I didn't run it either because I can't run, but and I'm like, wow, I wish I was disabled. I wish I was in a wheelchair. And now that you get older, and you're like, wow, thank God I'm not. You know, I'm not to be rude, but it's like very limiting, and I feel bad for, you know, so I get it. You know, sometimes I also look at my dog and go, I wish I was my dog. I'd have to go to school, but now I don't want to be a dog because dogs are, you know, I don't know. They don't get to jerk off. You know, they don't know what porn is. Porn is amazing. I don't know, but you get my point. You know, it's just like the perspective of kids. They think that like whatever's going on in their life is so fucking difficult, you know?
So unbelievably damaging for people that actually do suffer with Tourette's, people who are autistic, people who do have Tourette's. And I think the question is with Elphaba is, which one does she fall under here? Attention seeking or just a misunderstanding? Well, honestly, it's quite depressing to say, but I'm more leaning to maybe the attention seeking aspect of things.
Probably, yeah.
I don't say that lightly. I think that's a very harsh observation to make of somebody, but based on the fact that we have so many lies here, so many apologies, backtracking and contradictions, I think that there is nothing more I can really take from this of somebody who is using very serious disorders for their own benefit on their social media platform. And that does then lead us into the DMs that I've mentioned a few times throughout this video. And these DMs are honestly just as criminalizing as everything else that she said. And by criminalizing, I don't mean she's going to go to jail. I just mean she's probably going to go to social media TikTok jail. Pretty much in these DMs, what she says is that she can't stop lying FFS. Sometimes she...
Well, I mean, like, you know, it's so interesting. They're not going to go to like any type of like social media. The people, so listen, despite the fact that like this person is probably faking like mental health issues, the reason that they're famous is because they're a Lolcow. It's because they're kind of a weird person and people like to make fun of them, right? Like I see all these things about how like they don't shower and they don't do this and they don't do that, and like that's kind of the meme that they pretty much did to an extent. Their entire, you know, success is just because they get bullied constantly. Like that's where it comes from. And so, yeah, I mean, they're not going to go anywhere anytime soon, okay?
Can't help lying, and she doesn't know why, and she didn't mock anything. She lied, yes, but I never mocked anything. People are sending me threats and telling me no one would care if I think you know where that's going, and if you are sending messages like that, please don't. But I think Elphaba really needs to understand there is a problem here, even if it's from an innocent POV of, oh, she did accidentally misdiagnose herself by, I don't know, getting told something from TikTok or reading something and she didn't really understand the true nature of Tourette's and every other disorder out there, or even the other one of she's possibly attention seeking and lying about absolutely everything, which I'm kind of leaning more towards. Regardless of which angle we're on here, this is dangerous. This is very, very negative for people who actually have these disorders, as I keep saying, but I'm actually going to explain why, and that's why we're going to get the board. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the board, and I'm not trying to show it in the light right now because, you know, reflections exist, but pretty much what this board shows is a process of how this all works. As you can see, we've got Elphaba, and when Elphaba comes and speaks about their disorder, lies about the disorder, it leads to two specific scenarios. Scenario number one being Elphaba gets criticism exposed. I don't even know if you can read that right now, but pretty much that's the end goal for the most part when it comes to Elphaba. People don't trust her anymore, and it ends there. But the thing is, the second scenario leads to a lot more things if you can actually see that. I'm just going going to read it for you in case you can't, but it says, from lying about disorders, it leads to people trust less people with actual disorders, then those disorders start to get demonized again, because that's something that is happening, which I've noticed. A lot of people are starting to say that certain disorders aren't even a real thing, mainly because of people on TikTok that fake this stuff.
Yeah, it goes two different ways though. It's that people fake it, so they're apprehensive, or they don't trust anybody who says that they have it. But then there are people on the social media who will end up, people might believe them, or they may even have the issue, and it'll be misrepresentative of people with actual mental issues, and people go, that doesn't seem like a big deal. You know, like if you see somebody on TikTok that's like, I have autism, but you don't see any real difference with the way that they interact with the world, you're going to be like, oh, so what does autism mean? But like, I've met people with, like, my wife is a behavioral specialist, you know, bingo, Papa got bingo. I've met people with autism and Down syndrome and stuff, and it's like, it's a very different world. TikTok certainly doesn't represent these things the same way. And funny enough, the people with autism on TikTok, like the people with like actual, like, well, you know, I guess with lower functioning or higher supporting autism on TikTok, they get relentlessly bullied. That's like the number one thing that happens to them. Look at like World of T-shirts, like Josh, he has autism, and he's getting bullied by that Michael Quinn guy. Like he set up that whole thing where like he stole his luggage to make it seem like, oh, he's a good guy, I help you find it, you know, all that shit. It's fucking crazy, man. The way that we interact with people with disabilities on the internet is fucking bananas. Okay, not to be that guy, not to keep talking about it, but part of it is because we have a normalized usage of the R slur. It's the only slur that people feel more comfortable on the internet using, and it comes from a lack of disrespect for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, especially those who are like higher support needed. And it gets down to this whole thing where like the people who are lower, very low, or like no support needed with like different mental issues like autism, they're like, oh, I don't care about the word, so like just use it. But that's not accurately representative of people that struggle deeply and are offended by the usage of the word. You know, like I said, Jubilee, Down syndrome. Look that up on YouTube. Watch the first minute and a half of that video. Okay, people don't like that. People with intellectual and developmental disabilities that are higher support needed do not like being called the R slur. It is a slur, and people are like, well, it has different meanings. Only because you allow the word into, like, you've decided to reappropriate the word. That would be like if we had a society that was comfortable using the N-word. Oh, well, it has multiple meanings. So I've heard people say that, like, oh, it just means lazy. It doesn't. Like, you're trying to redefine the word. You're trying to, that's all it really comes down to, so that you could use a very powerful, ignorant, hateful, harmful word, right? And it all ties into itself. So
it's horrific, it's disgusting, but it is a cause and effect of these situations when people lie about this stuff. And then with the disorders getting demonized again, it leads to less understanding, less help, and lives are made worse, and society in general just regresses. It's a sad state of affairs, but Elphaba, you need to understand that your actions have consequences, not just for you, but so many other innocent people that have no role or part in your personal situation. But yes, with all of that, ladies and gentlemen, my brothers, sisters, and sisters, that then leads us into the next topic.
I said that too.
Self-diagnosing. And I know it's a big old controversial subject, but let's just go through the definition first off and foremost. Self-diagnosis is the process of diagnosing or identifying medical conditions in oneself. It may be assisted by medical dictionaries, books, resources on the internet, past personal experiences, or recognizing symptoms or medical signs of a condition that a family member previously has. And now, my friends, you may...
Again, like, you're not a professional, guys, so, like, don't self-diagnose, okay? Go to a therapist. And if you're arguing... See, this is the problem. People will be like, oh, I have to self-diagnose. I can't afford to go to therapy. Then it just sucks to suck, because it's not helpful to self-diagnose. It's just not, because most of the time you probably don't have this issue. Like I said, that they have ads all over TikTok that I've gotten before too, that are like, you have ADHD, go get a fucking blah 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 blah. They don't actually know that you have ADHD. They just want you to buy fucking medication.
Be actually quite stunned to
Especially
hear this, but
America.
I actually think self-diagnosis can actually be a pretty good thing.
No, never.
I know, crazy, right?
Never,
Ladies and gentlemen. I actually self-diagnosed myself with ADHD even before I even got my ADHD diagnosis.
It doesn't matter. Like, I understand what you're saying. Like, you may have actually, you do actually have it, and you got lucky and never self-diagnose. Get it. Go to a therapist or something. Never self-diagnosed. It's not good. I don't know what else to say. It really isn't a good thing. It's not a good habit to get into. It's okay that if you go, oh, I recognize a symptom and I want to go to get a therapy, that's perfectly fine. But self-diagnosing is not good. And it doesn't even sound like he self-diagnosed. It sounds like he looked up the symptoms and went like, oh, I might have this. Let me go to a therapist and get diagnosed. That's different. Okay? Don't self-diagnose, okay? Just never a good thing. It's good. It's good. It's not a bad thing to recognize symptoms in you and then seek some kind of like help based off of that. That's a good thing. That's advocating for yourself, but that's not self-diagnosis. But do not self-diagnose, because self-diagnosing is like, oh, I have this thing, I have it regardless of whether a therapist says I do or don't. And at that point, like, that's not smart. That's not a good thing you should be doing.
Diagnosis. But the reason I did this, ladies and gentlemen, is to cope with the thing that I genuinely thought that I had. I did try and get help for it, but there are waiting lists in the UK, despite the free healthcare we have. Brother. It's not just a waiting list, it's a waiting blimmin' marathon. It's like 3 years. It's ridiculous. So many people are genuinely suffering with undiagnosed ADHD, but because of the waiting lists in this country, they cannot get that diagnosis. And
I don't know the specific state of what's going on there, but it just is what it is. You can't self-diagnose, okay? You can... I understand that the system's not perfect, but, you know, I'm just saying. Right?
They cannot afford private healthcare. So how do they cope? Well, by self-diagnosing. And the problem is there is a bit of an ethical dilemma here, because with self-diagnosing being, I guess, approved by myself in a way of saying it's not the worst thing in the world, you will get people that lie. It's a sad thing. And I think the only thing we can do here is say to what...
You also get people who, like, basically gaslight themselves into thinking that they actually have, like, an issue that they don't.
Out when people do, to call that out when we see it, for all the reasons that I've explained so far in this video to why it negatively impacts people that truly do have these disorders and mental health issues. And I also think the shun self-diagnosing is a little bit classist in itself.
No, it's not.
Because not everybody can afford to go to a doctor, an expensive doctor. Because even
it's just like, I understand the argument, but it really is a dangerous thing to support self-diagnosis. It's just not good. I'm going to die. It's just got to be careful of it. You really shouldn't be doing that.
This country where healthcare is free, it's pretty much impossible to get a diagnosis. But in a country where it costs thousands upon thousands, it's even more of a struggle. So I completely understand why people will do their bit to just get by their day-to-day lives and help themselves out. I really don't have a problem with that, and I would be shocked if anyone out there truly did.
I do.
Now, I will say, if you are self-diagnosing, you are not...
I would argue the majority of people self-diagnosing don't actually have the issue. I understand that there are some people who may, and they're going to get fucked, and I do understand that, and that sucks, but most people who self-diagnose don't actually have a problem. It's like fucking hypochondriacs who, like, these are people who go on WebMD and think that they have fucking cancer because they had a bad, they're tired today. You really should not be self-diagnosing. It's not a good thing. I understand, like, it's good to advocate for yourself and get, like, you know, therapy and whatnot. But at the end of the day, like, self-diagnosing is always bad. Okay, you know what I mean? It's always bad. Maybe we're not, like, agreeing on what diagnosing means. Like, if you're like, oh, I think I have ADHD, I'm going to try to operate in a way with, like, particular coping methods, like, that's fine, but a specific diagnosis is a different thing than that. Okay.
Expert, and I highly recommend don't go out and tell people to do the same, I guess. And by the same, I mean not telling your friend who says, oh, I can't look at my screen for longer than 20 minutes. Do I have ADHD? Don't tell them that they have ADHD is what I mean.
It was a misinformation.
If you think you may have something, great. Try and help yourself out, but also try and get professional help if you really can. But don't go around glorifying ADHD, because that's something which I've noticed a lot of people are doing. People are acting like it's this wonderful, quirky thing. It's not a quirky thing. It's a disorder which can genuinely ruin people's lives. So many of these disorders which we've spoken about can ruin people's lives. So let's not glorify this stuff. Let's not take it in jest. Let's take this thing seriously. As I said, there is a misinformation problem. With people like Elphaba, when you come at this at a nice point of view, as I mentioned earlier, you can
my wife's in the chat. My problem with self-diagnosing is that I feel like I see it's often used for excusing negative behavior rather than people trying to find treatment for those symptoms that they might be having. Perfect. That's perfectly said. That is, like, a big issue with self-diagnosing, is that people a lot of times are looking for a victim complex on the internet. Again, go to a therapist if you think you have this problem, but self-diagnosing that, like, yeah, it leads to that. It leads to people saying, oh, I have autism. I can say the R slur, even though they probably don't, because they're self-diagnosing. It leads to people that are, like, engaging in bad behavior, like they're on their phone constantly, or they're not paying attention in class when they have the ability and the capability to do it. And they're like, oh, I have ADHD. I'm sorry, I can't do this. And they don't get a diagnosis because they don't have it. Right? Like, it's difficult. Like, it's more difficult than trouble paying attention in class. And even if you have ADHD, and I was medicated for it, you could still learn ways to deal with it. So just because you have it doesn't mean that, like there'll be times where I'll do something and, like, I don't just go, like, LOL ADHD, haha, bad behavior. Like, just because you have ADHD and it makes it difficult to act correctly, for lack of a better term, it doesn't mean that it excuses it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if my wife's telling a story, and then sometimes I'll interrupt. I think this is part of, like, ADHD. Is like you have, like, a thought, and it's like, you know, a lot of times my wife will be like, it's okay for me to do that because she understands. But then, you know, if she's in the middle of a story and I do that, I'm like, I'm sorry, I fucked up. Like, you know, you still have to monitor the behavior. You know, at the end of the day, ADHD is just a classification of a generally or broadly observed particular incongruency in society. It doesn't mean that it's like all LOL cool, like don't worry about it. You still have to deal with the things that you have. You still have to work on these problems. Like, it doesn't give you magical, like, do whatever you want fucking benefits. You have to still operate correctly. You still have to do well. You know, like if you have ADHD and it makes it difficult for you to stay off your phone because you need stimulation more often, that is not an excuse to be on your phone. It's just like, oh shit, I have to put my phone down, because sometimes you won't even realize you're on it. Like, I'll do that too. I'll be on my phone and my wife wants to talk to me. And like, I'll be on, she's like, put your phone down. It doesn't, I can't go, oh, I have ADHD, I need to be on my phone. And then, no, it's like, oh shit, my bad. Let me put it down. People don't have the right, like, interaction with their issues. They have it, like, in a way where it's not that, like, they don't, like, a lot of people just don't have it, and they don't care. And I have this weird, it's so bizarre thing. I've never wanted people to, like, understand that, like, I had ADHD when I was younger. I never wanted to use it as an excuse. And I never understand people who want to use it as an excuse, because that's just, like, a pathetic fucking victim complex. And you clearly weren't raised correctly if you want that.
That there is misinformation here which really needs to be fixed up. People need to start speaking about the fact that people really don't truly understand these disorders. As much as we've removed the taboo from society, I think we now need to move on to stage 2 of actually getting down to the nitty-gritty and understanding mental health.
Like you said, we're engaging in a new taboo of people faking it, so now people are starting to hate these people, you know what I mean? So
issues and certain disorders out there, because otherwise we are going to witness consequences which do affect the people that actually suffer these disorders. It's great that we can now speak about these things for all of the reasons that I've discussed in this video, but as I said, there are some negative connotations which we do need to realize. I know it's not a nice topic to speak about, but there are going to be people that take how, like, comfortable we are with mental health and disorders now and use that to their advantage. But there's always going to also be the case of people that just accidentally think that they have a specific thing because of what somebody said on TikTok. These are pieces of misinformation that we really need to cramp down on and prevent in the future, because that will only put negative impacts on communities of people that actually suffer of specific disorders. And Elphaba may be watching this thinking, well, if you're happy with self-diagnosing, why can I not? Well, the thing is, Elphaba, you lied. You've admitted to lying. You've done so many apologies, made so many contradictions.
Autism. Can't even spell that right. Anxiety, obviously. And depression. PTSD. IBS.
PTSD. I mean, listen, I would believe that they have autism. I'm not just trying to be rude, but there is apparently a comorbidity between autism and, like, gender identity disorder. So I wouldn't doubt that one. I'm not trying to be rude. I wouldn't doubt that. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But
potential.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the reason I played you that clip is because if you didn't notice there, Elphaba actually said in that clip that they are autistic. But there is a slight issue, because recently Elphaba admitted to lying about an autism diagnosis.
Ooh.
Next thing. The autism thing. Okay. I will be held accountable for this. I did lie about being diagnosed for it. That's not okay at all. It isn't. It is not okay. But I want to say this. I have been referred to it. So I'm in current wait for a diagnosis. And I was told by my CAMS worker, I've got proof of this. I had a CAMS appointment. She was called Betty. I was referred.
Now, it's great that you've been referred.
Well, I never, not for nothing, but in this specific instance, it sounds like she's operating the exact way that you told her to operate. She's on the waiting list. People have told her that she might have autism. She thinks that she genuinely has autism. By this logic, she's in the right here. Now, like I said, I wouldn't doubt that if she does, but you do need a diagnosis. But you shouldn't go around telling people you have autism. You can say, like, oh, I might have it. I'm trying to get diagnosed, blah, 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 blah. Or I'm trying to get referred to it. But by your logic, she's operating correctly here. Okay.
But the problem is here, well, can you not see the own problems that you have created and established here? I hate to say it, but I have immediate doubt to my mind even when Elphaba speaks about their possible future autism diagnosis. And I think about that because they've not only lied about being diagnosed, but they've lied about other diagnoses. And you can see the cause and effect of what's happening here. Just by you alone lying about these things, it's installing immediate doubt into my head. And I don't want that to be the case, because I actually believe this person probably does have some issues that do need resolving, but sadly, exactly.
need a
It's like the
shower.
boy who cried wolf scenario, you know? When the wolf actually turns up, nobody believes it. And I think that's what we have here with Elphaba. I think there could be some things that they probably do need help with, but now because of everything, people don't trust her. And now apply that to everybody out there who do have these disorders, and think how that's now going to be put onto them, because that's just how people work for some sad, sick reason. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, there is now a genre of people like investigating people into faking certain disorders, and I've seen in some videos, people aren't even being exposed for lying about them, but people are just seeing somebody have a tick and be like, you're lying about it, you're faking it. And this comes from people who fake having these disorders. It's like a massive snowball effect, which is tragically making things so much more difficult for people that do deal with these things. And I understand that I keep repeating that, but I think it's more that I have to like nail it into people's heads because of how serious and worrying this increasing issue is becoming. To conclude this video, Elphaba, I think you just need to get off TikTok, because it's clear that this app has absolutely plagued your brain. And if you do genuinely need help and want help, I do recommend you go and get it. You try your best to speak to some friends, speak to somebody who can care for you. It would be the best option for you, rather than just coming on TikTok, getting yourself into controversy and spreading negative connotations for an entire community of people out there. And the same goes for anybody who is doing the exact same thing. If you're faking a disorder, grow up. Just get a grip.
Another problem with it is that we live in a time where you can look up the symptoms of particular issues now, and you can go to the doctor seeking a diagnosis that you might get even if you don't have it. And it's called, especially when it comes to mental health, some people can fake. You can fake or exacerbate their symptoms, or say the right thing to the therapist, and they're like, oh yeah, you do have autism. Oh, you do have this, based on like way that you, because a lot of it is like you have to be honest with the person, you know? And so a lot of like, you really don't know. So people might be like honestly lying because they go to there like, oh, I have this. And they play up their fucking issue and they get diagnosed. It can happen. There's just a lot of issues when it comes to it, because you shouldn't be going to a therapist to seek a diagnosis of autism. You should be going there trying to see what's going on with you. So
it's embarrassing. We are in such a good point where we are actually speaking about these issues, but it's time we like conquered the misinformation aspect, the lack of understanding. I know things like depression have a lot of understanding, but when it comes to a lot of things like Tourette's, I think people truly do not understand the nitty-gritty details. And even myself don't know everything about this, but I think a little bit of research goes a million miles. So I'm going to end this video by saying I don't actually have a personal issue with Elphaba. I think what they're doing is absolutely disgusting, but I can't help but just feel a little bit uncomfortable throughout the entire thing.
Better.
I know people want me to dunk on her and go absolutely insane
better.
And crazy, but it's just such a sensitive topic. I don't feel comfortable doing it. So I'm going to end this video by saying, if you genuinely have like had some form of experience of where people have lied about these things and it's impacted you, please put your story down below. Please contact me. Let me know, because I'd love to continue to cover this sort of thing in the future. If you could get me your thoughts in the comment section as well, that'd be amazing. Such a sensitive topic. I'd love to know what you all think about it. And also, if you could do something more, nice like this video, please. I genuinely really appreciate it if you liked it, because sometimes the likes do slack a little bit. I don't want to call you out, but I'm going to have to.
Video.
And also subscribe. Buddy's podcast as well. Please subscribe to that. Links in the description. We will have it's all there in the description. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye. And have a cracking week.
Okay. Well, good video. Do better, Alphabet.
I want Papa Gut to pee on my face, but just as a friend. There's nothing weird about that. I want him to pee on my face.